She didn't see it so plainly. You act like I've already been confirmed, like everything has been written in stone, and it hasn't. It doesn't take a genius to add 1 and 1, Kai, he countered. You've been scouted by the military since you were 11, aced all of your core training, and passed the academy entrance exam with one of the highest scores ever, even higher than the old man. Yeah, only because you and Zoinks were there to help me study and pushed me to do better, she returned emphatically. I wouldn't have done any of it without you. I didn't take your tests, neither did Zoinks. You did, he corrected. Don't confuse being prodded by two delinquents, with a chip on their shoulder, with you doing what's necessary to be the best you can be. You did this, you and you alone, and you earned every accolade coming towards you. She felt the truth of the moment settle slowly upon her chest, the frailty of her soul exposed, and she dropped her head to allow a river of salty tears to race forth and join their brothers below. And that makes everything okay? I just close my eyes, act like you've never been a part of my life, and move on? I just pretend like the only reason my family survived this hellhole was that you split half your coin with Zoinks, and now with me, every time you got paid, never happened? How does that make sense, Jink? How is that fair to you, to me? Because this shit is bigger than that, Kai, he stated flatly, the reality of his life all too apparent. Look at me, Kai. She lifted her head, not wanting to comply, but relented before the urgency in his voice. This is who I am. I go to work, I fight in the pits, and I have people trying to kill me nearly every day. No. Yes, it is, he forced into clarity. This is who I am, and this is what I do, okay. I'm not like you. These last 3 years, being in the subs, was just a formality because you had to wait for the next confirmation day. They pretty much gave you your official packing papers the day Zoinks died, and I knew that. I just accepted I had 3 years left with your craziness. A brief smile flashed across her face, most likely involuntarily, but he noticed nonetheless. I barely made it out of core, Kai, you know that. The only reason I did was because of the old man's credibility, that's it. I'll never be like you, and they'll never accept me as being like you, even if I could. You tested higher than anyone in core history, Jink, she interjected, knowing he was only telling half the story. The only reason your grades were low was because you took extra shifts, with Papa James, to build up your coin. You did it for us, they can't hold that against you. Stop. No. Kai, stop, he felt his soul rip, the knowledge of self tearing away his sanity, long before he said it. No, she was adamant. You're the smartest person I know, you're the best fighter I know, and if you're not training or working, you're hiding in the library researching shit I can't even comprehend, why wouldn't you be accepted? And if they won't accept someone like you, with all their talk of benevolent grandeur and forgiveness, then maybe I'm not what they're looking for either. He wished he could say it, the reason resting on the tip of his tongue, but couldn't allow the sister to offer her life so quickly when he had yet to forgive himself for the death of her brother. His shoulders slumped, and he simply spoke the truth. You don't get to walk through the golden doors because of your works, Kai, but because of your worthiness. He made his way towards her, unsure of what drove him to do so yet driven to reach her just the same, and stopped just in front of her. The water's movement was the only thing keeping their secrets from each other. It's more than just the things we do on the surface, more than what the world sees, it's what you know inside, and I'm far too selfish to give up the things I know now. He smiled, though his words seemed to decimate the last remnants of resistance she had in reserve. You're not like me, Kai, you're not that selfish, and you would never put yourself above your family, or your kin, to prove a point, not even for me. He tapped her softly on the forehead, inducing the customary look of agitation upon her face, and forced her to look at him. Don't throw this away because of me, okay? I need this, maybe even more than you. The old man could have left a long time ago, but he didn't. He sacrificed himself for me. Your brother saved my life. He sacrificed himself for me. I can't let you do it, too. You know I can't. I've got too many sins levied against my soul as it is. The tears fell, this time from his eyes, but he refused to turn away. I need you to walk through the doors, with your head held high, and don't look back. I need you to find the biggest window you can, feel the sun upon your face, and let Zoinks know you made it. I need that, Kai. I need to know all of this was worth it. Her resolve broke before the sincerity of his heart, her need to confront him vanishing in a breath, and she sucked her teeth in rebuttal, her eyes narrowing to ensure he knew he didn't win the argument. You better make it upstairs, Jink, or I'm coming back to get you, I promise you that. He nodded his head, agreeing to her terms, and offered a soft smile. Yes, ma'am. The conflict ended, the tension between them passed, and a moment of awkward silence made their proximity apparent once again. Kai cut her eyes away, unsure whether she allowed them to search the reflections upon the water before she did, and cleared her throat. The sheer muscular nature of his build nearly lulled her into a hypnotic stare. When did all of this happen? When did you get so tall, and, so big? A slight laugh escaped his lips, the rush of his blood threatening to surge through his body, once again, as his eyes refused to leave her, and he softly reached out his hand to touch the side of her face and judge her eye. I've been taller than you since I was 9, and Zoinks and the old man put me through enough shit for me to be 3 times this size. She felt the touch of his hand, wanting to say more but desperately afraid of what it would mean for both of them, and bit her lip to force the heat from consuming her. Why didn't I notice? You did, he answered. But all you could see was Jinky. Zoinks and Jinky, it sounded almost magical to her. Come to think of it, Zoinks was kind of big, too. He lowered his hand, assured her I was okay, and clarified her statement. I'm big, but Zoinks was a monster, and he was way better at everything than I was. That's funny, she returned, her body moving dangerously close to his. He would tell Stack that you were the monster, and he trained all the time to keep up with you. He disagreed. Zoinks was better. The fight I took, when I left the infirmary, was supposed to be his. The old man set it up because he thought Zoinks was ready, and I wasn't. She was just out of his reach, just beyond his touch, yet tortured by the fact she wanted him to complete the journey and pull her in. Jink, She faltered, uncertain of the right words to choose, yet her heart demanded something was said regardless. Have you ever noticed me? Her heart stopped, unsure of how to proceed. I noticed you the day I met you, he interjected. I just thought you'd never notice me. And if I do now? What are we supposed to do about it? She asked. I've wasted so much time pretending not to notice, acting like I didn't see you. What do we do now? He covered the distance between them, taking her into his arms even as the hardness of his member thrust upward to lay stern between, and offered her the only thing he could, the peace of knowing. Nothing, Kylina. We do nothing. He felt her press into him, the feel of her body yearning to merge with his as she wrapped her arms around his neck to draw him even closer, and his lips dipped to brush softly against the side of her neck. Anything other than that, and I'll die 2 weeks from today. He held her tightly, his mind drifting back to the times he could only dream of being the one in her arms, and sighed contentedly. Just take it with you, and know that no one will ever love you like I do, okay? She cried in his arms, the feel of his need pressed against her affirming what she should have known from the beginning, and lost herself to the tragedy of the zone. The reality was that sex was rampant, with multiple rapes a daily occurrence with little more than an admonishment for the perpetrator. Violence was the very blood flowing through every vein and orifice labeled as streets and venues. And every day, they awoke claiming an abomination as their home, with a blessing of clear skies and sunlight upon their lips. An actual relationship was rare, with most people only hoping to share the burden of life and endure the eternity of isolation at best, but nothing remotely close to love. Yet she felt it, found it returned, and knew it was real. It was a lifetime of pettiness and playing. Of shared memories of laughter and private jokes. And of heart-rending pain, which bonded them together for all time. There was no doubt about it, they were in love, and may the Creator help her, she would be damned before relinquishing this feeling so easily. Her tears would grant her passage, allow her to slip into her feelings and come out unscathed without being held accountable. But the moment demanded so much more. His kindness, his admission of love, deserved more than a mere dismissal. She could feel him in her soul, had accepted the truth the second she allowed a slag like Ephron to help her, and knew she could never love another as much as she loved him now. As much as she had always loved him. Zoinks had given her the greatest gift in the world, Jinky, and she would treasure such splendor until she was claimed. She pulled him tighter, willing to accept whatever he demanded of her, but found only his love being offered. And, in truth, it was more than she deserved.